The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Welcome to Catholic Chicago, the Black Catholic Initiative, bringing you the experiences, perspectives, and insights of Black Catholics in the Archdiocese of Chicago from north to south and east to west. We discuss here what's happening, what and who has been impactful in the church, who and is having an impact today, and how we'll move forward in faith as uniquely Catholic and uniquely Black. I'm Deacon Jim Norman, Vicar for Deacons with the Archdiocese of Chicago, sitting in for Father Mike Trail and supporting Father Matt O'Donnell, who is our leader for the Black Catholic Initiative. Delighted to be joined here this morning by Valerie Jennings, Executive Director for the Tolton Spirituality Program, and David Warren, Director and Producer of the film Tolton Speaks. I'd like to give you, welcome, both of you. I'd like to give you an opportunity to just share with our audience a little bit more about your background. There's so much more, Valerie, that you have done within the Archdiocese of Chicago and are doing. I'd like you to share that, and then David will give you an opportunity to share some of the work that you've done prior to Tolton Speaks.
Okay.
Valerie?
Sure.
Well, I served here in the Archdiocese of Chicago for 7 years as the Parish Vitality Coordinator for Vicariate 6. So I had a unique opportunity to learn more and more about Father Augustus Tolton because Bishop Perry was the vicar, the Episcopal vicar for Vicariate 6 at the time, and he's also the postulator for the cause for Tolton sainthood. I have had an opportunity to do the Chicago journey of Tolton's life in terms of the pilgrimage that we've had here from time to time, and have been on the Quincy pilgrimage, which is just so unique and so different. It's a different experience. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about this film and where we're going to and how we're going to move it forward for the rest of hopefully the world to see.
Thank you. And David, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, I am a convert to the Catholic faith and had really wanted to make movies my entire life. And I went to film school and worked on some big Hollywood movies. And one day I was on set and I read a copy of Story of a Soul by Saint Therese of Lisieux. My wife gave me the book. And that really sparked a deepening of my Catholic faith, and it really rocked my world and made me reprioritize what I was doing with my time. And I decided to sort of withdraw from working on Hollywood movies. Sometimes the messages of these films were not so agreeable with my Catholic faith. And I said, I still want to make movies, but I've kind of got to get out of this setting, the scenario that I'm in. So I became a school teacher and did that for 7 years while I slowly started working on my own passion projects, my own documentary work on nights and weekends. And in 2016, I made my first feature-length documentary. It's called Hand of the Master, The Art and Life of Dom Gregory DeWitt. And it's about this Benedictine monk who painted an abbey that's here in Louisiana. And anyway, I worked on that film, and that was the first time that one of my films really turned a profit. And it was like, maybe I can make a living doing this. And I started developing my next film, which was A Place at the Table. And that was another success. Now, A Place at the Table is about all 6 African Americans who are on the path to canonization. So it includes a segment on the Venerable Father Augustus Tolton. And after I worked on that project and had met with Bishop Perry, I was approached by Father Gerard Jordan, who was one of the postulators working on the cause for canonization for Tolton to become a saint. And he approached me and said, we'd really like to make a film that's just about Tolton. And, I lit up. I was very excited for the chance to go even more deeply into the research of Father Tolton and to gain insights on him that were not available to the public. That was exciting to me because I want to tell stories of faith. I want to tell stories about faithful people who inspire us to live holier lives, to draw closer to our Eucharistic Lord. And Tolton Speaks was recently completed, and I'm very, very I'm very, very pleased that his story is being told in this way, and I hope it will draw more people to learn more about him and ultimately draw more people to Christ.
I'm excited. Let's watch a trailer from the movie Tolton Speaks.
I was a poor slave boy, but the priests of the church did not disdain me.
Little Gus was born into a enslaved community of people, but he was not without hospitality. Where did that hospitality come from? Heaven.
There are many slaves who tried to navigate across the mighty Mississippi River. Some made it, some did not. Some were killed en route to that, some drowned in the river. As you can imagine, it was a daring escape. There was a lot of agitation in the parish, largely on part of the parents of the school children. They could not see their children being educated with this black child.
And I truly believe that the Holy Spirit gave him the strength to endure suffering.
Father McGeer offered to let him come to St. Peter's. And Father McGeer promised that if there's any trouble, he would handle it.
As long as I was in their school, I was safe. Everyone was kind to me. I learned the alphabet, spelling, reading, and arithmetic.
So he excelled in his college studies. He was known to be near the top of his class. He was found simply praying in the church, which gives an indication that there was something spontaneously spiritual about him.
If I were a priest, I could do so much more for our people. I could bring them forgiveness and grace and strength. I could help people become better.
No seminary in those days in this country would take a black student. That was just the fact.
In our church, we have beautiful documents, but do we live them out? Tolton lived out what it meant to be truly Catholic.
The day I was ordained, I felt so strong that I thought no hardship would ever be too great for me to accept.
All of it points to becoming and living out the gospel of Jesus Christ.
This is Deacon Jim Norman, Vicar for Deacons with the Archdiocese of Chicago. This is Black Catholic Initiative. You just saw a trailer from the movie Tolton Speaks. I'm here with Valerie Jennings, who's the Executive Director for the Tolton Spirituality Program, as well, and David Warren, who is the producer and director of Tolton Speaks. Valerie, I wanted to ask, we just saw the trailer. Why this movie now?
To bring about a much greater awareness of who Father Tolton, was, and how he served the people here in Chicago, but also about his letters that no one had ever read before, except for a few people that was exposed to them. These particular letters were so precious that we brought his words to life. Because we finally heard him speak, not actually, but a voice of an individual speaking his words for the first time, because no one ever knew how he actually sounded. But at least this time, with these 13 letters, it's really only 13. That were actually recorded and found.
David, I wonder if there's anything you wanted to add to that. You know, there have certainly been books written on Father Augustus Tolton. Valerie talked about the letters, and you had an opportunity to read those letters, to put his life together in Tolton Speaks through the letters. What was that experience like for you? Were there letters or phrases or words or situations that resonated with you as you were creating this movie?
Sure. I was very, very moved when I was given the privileged opportunity to read these letters, which had never been made public before. Reading particularly about some of the phrases that another priest used towards Tolton, some of the derogatory terms that were thrown at him, even from within the Catholic Church, from a Catholic leader, was heartbreaking. We don't like to think of our church as being like that. We don't like to think of there being racism within the Catholic Church. And just to read through Tolton's own words the reality that was the situation that he endured, it was very heartbreaking. It was very upsetting and disappointing. On the same token, though, Tolton also writes about very positive interactions. There were people of different races who embraced him, who loved him dearly, and proved that the church could be a place of unity. And Tolton wasn't concerned with only ministering to a particular race or even a particular denomination, as has been pointed out. Tolton was a minister for all people, right? He believed that the Catholic Church was just that, truly Catholic, right? The word Catholic means universal. Jesus is for everybody. And Tolton brought Jesus to so many people. I was very, very moved, very excited, very privileged to get to read these letters. And it was difficult for me because when I first was given the letters, I was told, hey, keep these private, don't share them with anybody. I didn't even share them with my wife, but I wanted to tell her all about everything I was reading. But I wanted to honor that commitment I had made to keep this private. Of course, we did have to hire a voice actor. The very talented Mr. James Wadley was the actor who read Tolton's letters and his voice, and I just think he did a phenomenal job. I think he really brought a lot of character and heart that was already present in these letters, but he really brought it to life in a way that we could hear it. And as you say, there have been books published. There have been synopsises about Tolton's life. This is the first time in a film, and one of the advantages of the medium of film is you get to see and you get to hear. This is the first time you can sit down in a film and really listen to Tolton say things. Of course, it is an actor reading Tolton's words, but it's powerful. It's really, really powerful to hear this dramatic reading of these letters.
When we come back from break, I know there was a soft premiere here in Chicago. I do want to come back and get a sense from both of you how the soft premiere went, how it impacted the audience, what questions, observations did they have that we can anticipate as we have an opportunity to view Tolton Speaks at some time in the future. We'll take a break and be right back.
Catholic Charities' Refugee Resettlement Program has been especially busy this year, assisting individuals and families who have fled dangerous situations in their homeland, including Afghanistan and the Ukraine. The Refugee Resettlement Team helps with everything they need to start to rebuild their lives in a new country, including housing, employment, clothing, food, English classes, and referrals for legal and immigration services. The refugees are tremendously grateful for the compassion and practical help they're receiving, and they're giving back and helping each other plan for a brighter, safer future. Volunteer opportunities are currently available for those who would like to be family mentors and tutors so children and adults can practice English. To learn more about these rewarding opportunities, call 312-655-7096. That's 312-655-7096.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
Welcome back to the Black Catholic Initiative. I'm Deacon Jim Norman, Vicar for Deacons with the Archdiocese of Chicago. Our guest today, Valerie Jennings, Executive Director for the Tolton Spirituality Program, and David Warren, Director and Producer of the film Tolton Speaks. I know, Valerie, there was an opportunity to do a soft premiere here in Chicago about a week or so ago. I'd love to get your sense of the reaction of others. Number one, who was invited to this initial soft launch, soft premiere, and what was the reaction?
Well, we held it at the Myers Center. The reason that we wanted it there is because those were the hallowed grounds where Tolton walked. Matter of fact, he just walked just feet away from the Tolton Center and ended up collapsing not far away from the Myers Center. So he was very much part of that particular community. The people that were invited were, of course, priests and deacons and lay people throughout different parts of the Archdiocese. And I can say that those that I actually spoke with, they were moved. They were so moved that they thought about where we are right now in our own society and the things that he was challenged with back then in the 19th century. He's still, we're still dealing with some of those things right now. For example, the lack of inclusiveness, of not wanting to include people, the way that people are not willing to share what they have, whether they have a little or whether they have a lot. Tolton went through all of that, giving whatever he had back to the church. He truly lived a life of poverty, but poverty not being poor so much, but just living a life of wanting to just give as much as he could of himself, so he could be totally empty for his people, but filled up with Christ.
And David, I know you were at the soft premiere. What was your reaction, or your view of the reaction of the audience?
Sure. Gosh. So Martin Scorsese, the film director, says, if you don't feel sick to your stomach at a premiere of your own movie, you did something wrong. And I think what he means by that is that you should put so much care and work and effort into the cinematography and the editing and every bit of the score, the music and the sound work that you're kind of nervous about how it's received. I've had that experience before. Certainly that's how I felt in film school. That's how I felt when other films I've released have come out. Maybe I did something wrong this time, but maybe not, because I was in a room filled with people who were Team Tolton, filled with people who already love Father Augustus Tolton, already know about him, and they were just so excited to see his story told for the first time. I didn't have that nervousness I typically feel where I'm like, oh gosh, do they think that this shot's out of focus or that sound is bad? I wasn't thinking about any of those things. The feeling in the room was very much, let's tell Tolton's story, and thank goodness the story here is now on a film. People were very, very excited, and they expressed to me how much they appreciated hearing Tolton's words and getting to read those letters as they appear on screen. I think the other thing that people were surprised by is that we were able to present some images of Tolton that either have not been seen very often or were entirely new to the audience. One of the things we did in the film, just on a technical level, is we made 3D scans of Tolton's face based on some of those old photographs that exist of him. And we were able to, digitally sort of rotate his face, and you get to see him from some different angles. And I think because there's a limited number, I don't know if there's about 7 or 8 photos of Tolton that exist. When you're looking at a film that's 90 minutes long, visually, it's really neat to be able to see some things you've never seen before. And I was able to get some images of Father Schaefermeyer, who is influential in Tolton's life, Father Peter McGeer, who is influential in his life, photos of Chicago and Quincy from the era that Tolton lived. And I think that all of these things really help bring the story to life. And so even people who were familiar with Tolton, who had read about him, done research on him, I think they were moved by seeing the sort of synthesis of these images and these sounds all brought together. I was excited. I was very grateful to have been invited to the premiere, and I was treated really well. Valerie helped give me a little tour of Tolton's life, and that was very special. So I had a great experience when I was there for the premiere. It's always great for a filmmaker to see a film being projected on a big screen with an audience. That's always a high point in a filmmaker's career.
Is this a fair question? As a filmmaker, there's what you hope to convey, and that's what then the audience received. Were there any surprises for you that the audience, they received something or they saw something in addition to what I'd hoped?
Gosh, that's a great question. I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest. I think my goal with the film was to just sort of tell as much information about Tolton as we could. Of course, I'm not the one speaking in the film. You never hear my voice. I'm interviewing, Antoinette and Bishop Perry and Father Gerard. They're the experts. I'm letting them speak to the camera. I think that and in many ways, I'm kind of like the audience. I'm learning as I'm conducting these interviews and talking to experts. I wouldn't consider myself nearly on the intellectual or research caliber of someone like Bishop Perry. Rather, like the audience, as I'm recording these things, as I'm making the film, I'm learning myself. I'm going on this journey of exploration and discovery myself. So I hope that the audience felt the same way. I don't think there was anyone in the room who didn't learn something when they watched the film, though. I think everybody felt like they took away something new they didn't know before, even those who were really well versed in Tolton. That was exciting for me, just to know that, like, hey, I got to work on a project that taught more people about this incredible man of God.
I was going to say, David, as someone who's seen Tolton Speaks, and you talked, thank you for sharing about what you did for the photos. and what was done in voice, thanks to the actor. If it may have gone unspoken, but you did bring Tolton to life.
Well, praise God for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so really, for me and for others who saw it, he came to life in a way that he could not have in books, and through his voice and through his letters and through the photographs. The whole story came to life.
There was a priest there that had been ministering here in the Archdiocese for the last 40 years. He was ordained here. And it brought Father Tolton's life was brought to life with him, because he said, I didn't know. He said, I've been a priest for 40 years and I didn't know this. I didn't know this about this man. So I think a lot of the people walked away with, wow. They were just overwhelmed, especially some of the lay people who were invited but didn't know that much about Tolton. There were some that were present that really didn't have as much information about him, but they certainly walked away with a lot more knowledge than they walked in with.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know that there are discussions going on now about where next to go in terms of premiering the film and when it will be available. I do know, David, I'd like to get just, if people want to look at your work in addition to Tolton Speaks, where they may go to find that, where they may go to view this trailer again. Could you let us know where that can happen?
Yes, you can see details about Tolton Speaks, and you can watch the trailer and find my other Catholic documentary work at StellaMarisFilms.com. That's StellaMarisFilms.com. So StellaMarisFilms.com has all of that information. We are still working out the details of when exactly the film is going to be made available to the public, and how we're going to sell it exactly. We're still working that out between the Tolton Spirituality Center and my company, Stella Maris Films. But I can tell you, we will have the details available on StellaMarisFilms.com, and I expect they'll also be on the Tolton Spirituality website as well.
Thank you, David, for that. I know, Valerie, the Tolton Spirituality Program is doing much more work in the Archdiocese of Chicago as a pilot, which could be used across the U.S. We'll get you back for that. That's another episode.
I'm really excited to tell you what's going to happen, and that with some of the partnering that we're doing with the Office of Catholic Schools and with confirmation classes.
Sounds great. We'll have you back as a guest on the Black Catholic Initiative. We look forward to that. David, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for your work on the movie, Tolton Speaks. Valerie, thank you for your leadership, both of Tolton Spirituality Program and moving forward the movie, Tolton Speaks. Thank you for being here. God bless you both in your work.
God bless you. Thank you.